she's going to laugh at my Excel document.
That's a huge statement.
Why couldn't Ainsley do bowling?
That's Joe.
That's Rooster.
And this is the Together We Shall podcast.
I don't even know what episode number it is. Does it matter?
64?
Yeah. You know, counting these episodes for what? I mean, really, let's unpack that for a second. Why would we count them other than quick reference to, oh, you should listen to episode 17? Why? How about, hey, you should go listen to the conversation we had with Tanya about National Adoption Month? Well, which one is that? Well, there's only like 70 on there to look through. You should be able to find it. Or do we need a number?
Because we've gone through 60 something with a number, we need a number.
Okay. Well, what number is this one?
Tell you when we're done.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, y'all. Welcome to the episode with no number. I'm Rooster, and that's Joe, but we already did that in the intro. See? Little. We must be recording like sometime within 24 hours of St. Patrick's Day or something.
63.
Okay. I knew you were going to look it up. So what happened in 1963? Top of your head. Don't overthink it. Come on. November 22nd.
60s? I don't know. That wasn't JFK, was it?
It was November 22nd, 1963, as the motorcade turned in downtown Dallas onto Elm Street in the shadows of the Books Depository building. Anyway, yeah, I'm a...
also the year my dad enlisted in September.
See, perhaps some would say even more important. Hey, I was listening to something the other day. There's a podcast. No, it's a Netflix show called Nostalgia. Dude, tell me you're tracking this. Nostalgia. I know you're Googling it now. Anyway, the guy's name, his dad's name was Bill. And he talks about what it means to be
It's a pretty common name.
I know, but he talks about what it means to be a Bill. Bro, Yes, when you get some time, go check this thing out. He what's that guy with the big eyes? The comedian. This kind of he's got a thing. The big-eyed guy, and he even says big dumb eyes. Nostalgia. Come on, the listeners know. Anyway, he's supported by that guy. Dude, you're the comedian stand-up guy. How come?
Steve Buscemi. I don't know why I was going like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, but he's not like a comedian, but big eyes. But.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more like 2026 comedians.
Wait, Steve Buscemi's not a comedian.
He's not. I don't even know where you got that name from. Oh, wait, was it from our guest who's participating
our friend
via
put
chat?
It in the chat.
I don't know. Maybe we should jump in with our guest. Maybe that's what we should do here. So let's do that. Hi, Jill.
Good morning.
So who are you? Where are you coming to us from, and why are you on episode 63, as we've made it clear?
I'm Jill Huffman. I am the race director for the Space Force T-10 miler and the deputy director for the Air Force Marathon, and I'm in Dayton, Ohio at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
But why? Why are you on the show?
Because I worked for 3 years to get Ainsley's Angels to the Air Force Marathon, and we did that last year, and we had the most amazing fill-in MC for the day.
Oh my. Yeah,
right?
I guess
now he's the MC going forward.
I know. Wow, I definitely want to talk about that. Joe loves that for me. Right, Joe? You love that for me?
7 straight hours of talking.
Yes. Well, how about that? Yeah, Jill, say that again. What am I going to do the third Saturday in September?
You are the MC for the Air Force Marathon Events Weekend.
But what did you just say that means?
7 straight hours of talking on Saturday.
So if you...
With a microphone and loudspeakers and an audience.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I can't think of anything less I would want to do.
But you would love to be there within earshot.
I don't know. I think it would cause too much comic relief for myself.
So your gut would hurt from just laughter of
Indeed.
The different. Okay. Until I called you up there and it was like, the co-host for the Together We Shall podcast is here with us today. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's an idea. So, Joe, you and Jill have never formally met, so that's always fun to just bring, quote, a stranger yesterday, friend today, family for life on the show. So, I don't know, what do you want to ask Jill out the gate in the first couple minutes? This stranger, this person you've never met before.
I don't really have a question right off the bat, but I do have just like a statement about how the true fashion of, dare I say, a government building with like nothing on the walls and the tile, and or those who are watching this will see it, but it's like, man, those walls and ceiling look far too familiar.
My medals are over behind me. It didn't go well with how my computer was set up.
Ah, nice.
So I
Okay.
do have stuff, but
What's-
I didn't put anything on the wall.
What is Right Pat like? Never been, likely never will. But
Oh, that's not
what's it-
true.
Oh, that
Well,
was
the third Saturday in September is never going to be a good one for me because there's a wife and a kid birthday. So
We can sing to them.
See, she's good, man.
you,
So
real comic relief then.
Wright Patterson has approximately 36,000 people on base. The base is broken into now 2 areas, which is Area A, and that is where the flight line is located. The C-17 is here. And then on Area B, it's the Air Force Institute of Technology, Air Force Research Lab. That is the very technical, very scientific side of base is over on Area B. And then what used to be another section of base, and it is still protected by security forces, is the National Museum of the United States Air Force. And that is 4 airplane hangars large, plus there is an air park. And the area around the air park is our start and finish line for the Air Force Marathon events.
See, dude,
Nice.
It's a very big space.
there's stuff to see, Joe. There's stuff to.
Is the C-17, is that the Hercules?
I honestly
a
don't.
130.
I can tell you that I can tell you it's a C-17, and that's it.
Brewster should know this.
No,
Not me.
it's not the Hercules. The Hercules is the C-130, but I think it's like the Skylifter or the Sky Buster or lift everything, including 3 tanks of 25,000 miles. Like it's an amazing aircraft. Like back in the day, we had like the C-130, and then it's still out there, and then the C-141, and then the C-5, and then they come up with this thing called the C-17, which I don't know. Maybe it's even called like the Stratosphere, but it's dude.
That's the KC-135.
See,
Oh, there you
these are the reasons why all the listeners should come to the Air Force Marathon weekend and enjoy the National Museum so they can learn all these things.
I do bet that is cool. I went to the it's not the American Airline Museum, but it's like, I don't want to say it's the FAA museum either, but it's in Charlotte, and they have the fuselage from Sully, the one that crashed in the Hudson in there, and it's 3-ish massive hangars of all just the history of aviation. And yeah, I was hesitant to go. I was like, all right, it'll be cool. But we got in there and I didn't want to leave. I was like, this is astonishing. And I also found out that I have no business plane because I crashed every single time in the simulator.
Mhm.
So I checked that off my aspiration list.
So like in summary, there's an opportunity to come the third Saturday in September to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, which also features the National Air Force Museum and 4 hangars and all the things. But the racing itself isn't just a marathon. There's other races, right, Jill?
That is correct. On Friday evening before the marathon, we have our 5K at Wright State University. And then on Saturday morning, we have switched things this year. So the marathon will go first at 6:30 in the morning because we are trying to mitigate the heat that is Ohio. And then at 7:15, we will have the 10K and the half marathon take off. But at 6:20, that is when our wheel athletes go. So they are going off in the dark this year. There will be a lot of lights, horses being changed. There's just a lot of changes. It's our 30th running this year.
30th, Joe, a nice, even, cool 3-decade number.
Yeah, sounds like there should be 30 riders.
Well, I think they had that last year.
We're on the
so-
way.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. I think we're even beyond that by this point. Christy High would know for sure. Or maybe I don't know, co-race director would know, but we want to bust all the records that were there last year. That's the goal. So I think I could probably spend another 45 minutes talking purely about the third Saturday in September, and I'm sure Jill could as well. But I wanted to jump into some other stuff today because it's I think things that we don't get a chance to really highlight too much, and it has to do with like this space that is racing and accessibility. And what I mean by that is the types of things that as a co-director of a race that you think about that maybe we don't when it comes to saying, hey, can we come do your race? Like there's got to be a list of things that come to mind about how do we make this work. And I think that if we can highlight some of those from your professional opinion, it may help some of our ambassadors and some of our listeners, frankly, across the board, have a better conversation about how we both can meet in the middle to make sure accessibility wins. So, Joe, how would you respond to all that?
The first thing I would say is if you know the race has a logistics coordinator, whoever the ambassador is that is organizing everyone to come to the race, they need to have an at least hour-long sit-down conversation with the logistics coordinator, because all of the minor details of where you want to set up at the expo, where you want to set up on race day for where you want the trailer parked, and how many trailers you're going to have, and where you want tent set up, and is there a changing area, will there be handicap porta potties available? All of that has to be worked out with logistics coordinator. The sooner one can do that, the better. The week before the race is not a good time to ask him or her, because they are trying to think through every minor detail of what is about to happen and executing the race. And they're thinking about cones and fencing and placing everything. And that's not when they have the time to talk. So as far out as you know that you are coming to the race, find out who the person is that's going to help you with setup, who's going to tell you where on the map you are going to go. So that is really step number one. For our race last year, Christy talked to Tom Doucette, who is our logistics coordinator, and they talked for an hour about what would be the easiest route for all of the trailers to be set up and where they could be parked and where we would have handicap portos. So in case somebody needed changed before the race, where could that happen? Where would the group tent be located? And then we worked on, I would come to meet the Sea of Pink and then take them all the way up to the start line, because I might have a loud voice and I might yell at people to get out of the way, because I don't want the wheels to clip anybody. I'm a little bit particular about runners' ankles. I'm also particular about people not listening. So I wanted to get the whole Sea of Pink up and ready to go, because there were 24 of them and it was amazing. Something else that needs to be thought of ahead of time is parking passes. Where's everybody going to park and how are they going to get there? Is there a designated handicap parking area? Because if there's not, somebody needs to be thinking about that. Is there a special place where, like, we have certain parking for all of our distinguished visitors, the generals, the colonels, the other base commanders who come to the race, along with just high-ranking officials, our STARS group who have run all 30 marathons as of this year. They get a closer parking spot as an accommodation. So we had to think about where we could add in all of the trailers and all of the cars for the 24 participants, what they were going to do, and not overcrowd one parking lot, but make sure that there was handicap accessible. Luckily at the museum, we have parking that is it's A and B parking, but we also have an entire lot that is strictly handicap parking. So we had both options, but if you're a smaller race, you need to think about that. Or whoever the ambassador is that's bringing everyone to the race, you need to ask the race director, where can we park that is going to make the most sense? Because if it's somebody who's never dealt with Ainsley's, they don't know that there are 2 to 3 trailers coming and that those trailers have between 10 and 15 chairs each. That might be an exaggeration, but I've seen the trailers, like, they don't know. And what they really don't know, then they don't know how to scramble for last minute or plan ahead. So if somebody can explain to the person in charge, here's what happens, here's what we come with, where it's not one small person, it is a parade of pink and black. Be ready, we need a designated area. Coast Guard Marathon is coming up in 3.5 weeks, I believe. They have an entire parking lot that nobody else is allowed to park in that is designated for handicap parking at Ainsley's. And Ainsley sets up their trailers. They have their own dedicated portos for everyone. And then they can just roll straight to the start line because they have already had their chairs checked by security, and then they are able to go. But that race director has worked with Wounded Warriors. She was ready for the question. She was ready. Somebody else who has never dealt with wheels isn't ready. So you have to come at them with patience, but you also have to explain what exactly is coming, because what someone doesn't know and why their view is so short, I don't understand, but they have to think about that, and the ambassador has to talk to them about that. So those are things you have to think about.
Well, we don't really have to think about them anymore because we're recording and we have a transcript of all this, and we can add it to our, SOP and share with all our folks. So thank you for taking the time to do that for us.
You're welcome.
And Joe is like our ambassador, if you will, for our Marine Corps marathon experience. So I was watching his face as you were walking through some of those things, and it might have triggered him a few times because he's like, yes, I know. And I've been working on that for 11 months for the past 12 years. Anyway, yeah, that was really good. Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome.
I feel like what you described is really good for larger races, and there's a lot of elements that do apply to the smaller race as well. But I do need to clarify that for the listener. Like, there is a scalability to the plan, but the key tenets are still accurate. It begs the question, though, if we're asking of all these things of an event coordinator, are we like asking for special treatment?
A little bit, but it's deserved. Every runner, able-bodied, wheeled, it doesn't matter, is a VIP. They have paid money to be a part of your event. So they deserve special treatment. Some people just need a little bit extra because of the situation that they have been dealt. That doesn't make them more, it doesn't make them less. It makes them be able to do their race in their way. So it's not saying, hey, we're Ainsley's Angels and you need to give us all of these accommodations. It's, here's what we're coming and we're asking you to help with. How can you help us? And we will also help you, because it is not, you guys don't operate in the way of saying, we're coming, do it this way. It's how do we work together? It's in your literal together we shall. It is not, we're going to do it and you're going to listen. It's, we've got to meet in the middle. So if everybody agrees to meet in the middle, then the concessions aren't hard to make. It's a little creative, but it's not hard.
Yeah, that needs to be amplified, because we have had times in our day where we've seen a couple of things. We've seen people, and I'm not naming names or organizations or anything, but I've seen situations where people do believe that they have this right slash entitlement for an elevated and increased responsibility on behalf of the event coordinator to meet them significantly. And that can create a really bad together we shall. It's the antithesis, if you will. And on the other side of it is we've seen situations where if that didn't happen, that people like threatened to go to the press, or we're going to go to the media and we're going to say how you're not including us. And all the while, we, Ainsley's Angels, are attempting to do what you said, which is create this give and take, an open forum of these are the needs, these are the nice to haves, these are the absolute needs. How can we get there? And so I appreciate the way that you spelled that out. It's important. And we also need to highlight that the event needs someone, like you said, that's a logistics coordinator. And if they don't have one, that can become overwhelming for a race staff. So we, Ainsley's Angels, need to understand that we are coming in with some asks, and they may not have thought about them, and as a result, they may not have somebody to handle them. So you do have to be patient.
Jill, for us Marines, we have a term called Semper Gumby, always flexible. I'm sure the Air Force has something similar. And that's something, I mean, now for 15 years, Rooster and I have been in communication with race directors. And over those 15 years, as our organization has grown, as Air Force Marathon has grown, and the local 5Ks have grown, that logistics coordinator, that back and forth communication has changed, not necessarily for the better or the worse, but it just based on the operating environment. And yeah, having that ability with someone to say, hey, we can't do this because of this, but we can do this, and hey, does that work? And then have that conversation, and everyone goes through. And I was trying to think about it there. I think you're the third, probably wrong there, but third race director that we've had on the podcast. And I think the other two would say the same thing. Like, let's just have that conversation early enough in advance, and we'll figure out what works.
I think something that needs to be considered on both sets of parties as well is not all race courses are wheel friendly. So if a director tells you, no, we can't have you, it's not necessarily because they don't want to be inclusive. It's because their course doesn't allow it. Our half marathon course and our 10K course are not wheel friendly. So that is why it is not an option at Air Force to run the half or the 10K, because the 10K literally has sharp 90-degree turns in a parking lot that a wheeled athlete cannot get through. There are accommodations, but there's also safety. It might not be a no because they don't want it. It's a no because they physically can't keep you safe or keep the other runners safe too. So a no is not just, no, we don't want it. There's a reason for the no. If they explain it, that might be a little bit easier, but sometimes there's good reasons.
I think 2 episodes ago, I used the term, a no is not a no, it's a not yet. And that definitely doesn't always apply in times where we're even like, why can't we do this? Because folks will just say no without an explanation. And then you have the conversation about, hey, this is why. And Marine Corps Marathon's another one, that their 10K, we are not allowed to put wheels on that course for safety and logistics, because we can't get X number of folks to the National Mall at that hour. And it's, hey, that's all right. The marathon's better. You get to spend more time with your rider anyway. So everyone come do the marathon.
I mean, that's where I found Rooster.
Yes, this is true.
Wait,
I
what?
like
front
to
of the Pentagon.
Yes, I want to revisit that. That is a wonderful kind of segue first, though, into Miller Time. So if you're just joining us, we're at that part in the podcast where we ask you to get your favorite beverage. It's been about 23 minutes or so, and to hydrate is important. So Miller Time, we say, whether or not you brought something to the show or you need somebody to go get you something, hit pause if you need to, grab your favorite beverage. I am going to go with what's left of my water, and then I have some other options that I'm going to enjoy. But Jill, what are you sipping on today for Miller Time?
Water from my Air Force Marathon bottle.
You see, that's product placement. Well
That's
done.
right. Thank you.
Joe, what about you?
Water from my Frost Buddy bottle, who's not a sponsor
Yet.
Got
it. Yes. Yeah. Well, you speaking of what Jill alluded to about somewhere in Washington, D.C., Marine Corps Marathon, I actually had a chance to run into some vendors from Celsius. And that was at the Marine Corps Marathon in 2025. And they were like, wow, this is cool. Tell us more what you're doing. And then they sent Joe and I a couple of cans to enjoy. And I would say that that's what I'm drinking on now, but I'm out of it. It's all gone. So I have to drink what would be considered, I guess, the Celsius competitor. I'm actually drinking me a Monster today, and it's pretty tasty. It's in my LSU awesome Frost Buddy.
Oh, 2 Frost Buddies.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe 3 because, anyway.
Oh, come on. Someone Amanda, get this to Frost Buddy.
Yes, Frost Buddy. These are the best, dude. And this is not paid. I just want to say, of all the canned koozies out there, this one has figured it out, because I literally can put anything in this. This is a 16-ounce can, but there's an insert that allows me to put a 12-ounce can. And if I had like a skinny can, like the Celsius, it can go in there too, because they've mastered the lip part on the top. So Frost Buddy, that's where it's at. We were somewhere near the Pentagon, the 5-sided building. And then before that, actually, Joe referred to Semper Gumby and referred to us being Marines. And I saw you smile there. You have your own deep, long relationship with our Jarhead Gun Club. So take the conversation wherever you want to go. But those are some good topics for you.
Not the first time I've heard Semper Gumby. Not at all. Haven't heard it in a few years, but definitely not the first time. So forever ago, Rooster and I were both part of an online community called I Run For, where able-bodied individuals were paired with differently abled individuals, and you no longer ran for yourself, you ran for someone else. So going past the Pentagon, I mean, there's a lot of people. I came upon Rooster and I see on his leg, I run for Kendall Jade. I was like, I know who that is. Like, I recognize that name because I was one of the directors for the online group. And as I get to him, I'm like, I know who you are. You're Rooster. Like, who says that on the middle of a race course? But me, because why not? And there's 40,000 people, so why not? So that started me talking to Rooster and then starting to understand and follow Ainsley's. And then I was an athlete services coordinator for an event in Kentucky called Run the Bluegrass. And it was very, very cool to see all of the chariots on the course because that half marathon was 29 hills. So that's where it all started. And then there was a Marine spattered in there for 7 years. So that I got a lot of cadences. I got a lot of things that we can't say on the podcast, but that you two are very well versed in. So
Well, it's funny you say we can't say it on the podcast. We have the E. Like, we can say anything. It's a matter of what you can and can't say from your right pat office there. Right, Joe? We have the E.
yeah.
I almost wanted to just say something just to say it, but to be respectful of our government employee, I will refrain.
Sure, you guys understood exactly what was said to me when I said I got the job at the Air Force Marathon.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. You danced around it a few times. You said you got a Marine spattering in there for 7 years. Like, can we elaborate a little bit, Joe? I mean, just please.
Yes. I had a Marine fiance for several years. He actually knew Rooster. And in 2023, I was down at Space Force because I was meeting with leadership and doing trainings, and he died of a massive heart attack back at home, and I had to fly home quickly because that wasn't supposed to happen, and he was supposed to be at my house. So life changed really, really, really fast. 2023 was quite the year. So first Air Force Marathon, get ready for the first Space Force that I'm doing, and then Kirk passed away. So life was different. But in all of that, I got to see who would show up. And as things were crap, all I kept saying was, the Marines are coming. Like, I didn't care. The Marines were coming. So I knew that everything would be fine. Like, for the funeral, I had the Marines on base. I absolutely pulled every card that I needed and had the chaplains, who ironically are directly below me. Their offices are directly below me. So I had the Air Force chaplain come and do the service. The Marines that are stationed here at Wright Pat, they were the honor guard because I specifically requested them, and we were supposed to be going to the ball the day after I got home. So I was already in contact with them for tickets and whatnot. But then I got to see the Marines show up. So there were no cadences at the funeral, but the guys from 8th and I came because Kirk was Company B commander at 8th and I. His best friend, who's Michael McNamara, flew out from California. He literally flew on a red eye, came straight to the funeral, left and went back home. Like, I don't think the man slept, but then that led to him being the guest speaker at the marathon 2 years ago. So then when I wanted Ainsley's, it made the most sense to have Rooster, because the joke was, Jill, how many Marines do you know to be the guest speaker? And little did they know I can keep going. So it was just one of those, like, since 2016, actually the day after the Marine Corps Marathon, there's always been a Marine. And it's always been a Marine. For the last decade, there has been a Marine in my life in some form or another, and I will never, ever, ever take it for granted. I learned a lot. Things are good now.
We had to do that, so I appreciate your vulnerability there and bringing Kurt's memory to our radio waves, because that that we needed to do that. So thank you. And this idea, Joe, that like, as she said it, the Marines are coming. Like that was what she leaned into as like her mantra in the hours, minutes, weeks, months after her fiance's passing, her sudden passing. Like how powerful of just a mantra. The Marines are coming.
I feel like that's been said more than once in the last 250 years as well. So yeah, it's something that will always be said, at least in my biased opinion.
What else, Jill? What else do we want to talk about? You're a Midwestern girl, is that true?
I am. I'm from Indiana. I'm a Purdue grad. I live in Dayton, Ohio right now. And I have a daughter who is a freshman at University of South Carolina. And my son just committed to Ohio State to start there next year. So I know. I have to be positive. This is a recording.
Being from Indiana and a Purdue grad, what is it's either you're Ohio State or not, in my opinion. So is that like, are you indifferent or you're just?
Oh no, I love Purdue, and I love when I find people in Ohio who also love Purdue. It happens that our volunteer coordinator also is a Purdue grad. Makes life way more fun around here.
You're starting to amp up. Like you hear that in her voice.
Basketball season.
Yeah, we're like in March Madness.
Our vice president of movement oversees our race series and what will soon be our grief camp. Her husband is a Marine and a Purdue grad. So the Marines and the Boilermakers are coming.
Yes.
They are. The train is coming through, guys. There's a song about it.
And that's all interesting too. And maybe I just made the connections in my own head, but you're talking about Laura Schuler and how she oversees not only her own series of races, so she's a race director, but she like is a Marine family, and she's got a connection to Purdue, and she's kind of in charge of overseeing our grief camp. So like there's so many little pieces there that are oddly just synergized to episode 63. How about that? Hey, did you know we're having a grief camp? Did you know we're creating that, Jill? Nobody really knows that. I don't know how you would know, but did you know that?
I did not know that. I think that is amazing and necessary.
Yeah. So strangers yesterday, friends today, family for life. But what happens after an angel passes away? So my oldest, Briley, and a amazing intern turned now part-time assistant of Ainsley's Angels named Shannon are partnering to develop the curriculum that will be rolled out. I'm hoping in 2027. That's what my fingers are crossed on. Although we don't want to rush into anything. And eventually we'll be opening up opportunities for folks to be part of that, to really feel together the journey after. So I'm excited about it. We're calling
and
it grief.
Go ahead, and Joe. If you happen to know of any locations that would be a good host for a camp, not necessarily, not like necessarily tent camping, but a location to host 12-ish members and staff in the near future, let us know, because that's something that we are always looking for and asking individuals if they know of something. And one day someone will say, yes, I have 40 acres next to a runway in Montana in the plain. One day that will happen.
I will not tell you that part, but
all right. It was worth it. You got to take your shot, right? You never know.
I live in Cincinnati. I don't have that.
MGP. So I'm completely throwing a curveball in here. MGP, that's Midwest Grain Product. MGP is commonly used in the world of spirits, specifically whiskey and bourbon, as the source of grain for the production of so many of today's spirits. And MGP is very popular because it comes from right there in your backyard. So all the grains, all the 51% corn is coming from right in there and is in the preponderance of whiskeys and bourbons used in America today. Did you know that?
If I would have paid better attention at bourbon school twice, I might have.
Whoa. You went to bourbon school?
Yes. One of the perks of working for Run the Bluegrass based in Lexington, Kentucky, and having their own bourbon each year was that the race director thought I needed to go to bourbon school since I was surrounded by bourbon. I failed twice. I'm a tequila girl. So the first time there was like a bourbon master teaching about the different kinds of bourbon and what you pair it with and why. And yes, it was great. And no, I still didn't like it. So there was a lot of head shaking going on. And then the following fall, the first female master distiller had been hired to reopen Castle and Key. So she had bourbon school, and they were like, surely you are going to love this because it's a female teaching you. No. Nope.
Wow.
Still not a bourbon fan. I don't like it at all. I have tried multiple times. I will stick to tequila. I like that so much better.
Wow. So between my newfound passion for bourbon, Joe's love for vodka, and your tequila joy,
We're doing good.
we just got all the spirits covered. Dude, I brought up MGP completely just random, and I had no idea that I was about to kick that beehive. Wow. Who knew? I did not know that about your journey.
What was it about like the whiskey bourbon family that you didn't like? Because I think there's some similarities there with tequila, as you get into, Blanco and Reposado or Mezcal, I think there's still some. What's that?
I never a mezcal. I don't like smoky anything. So I don't like the way bourbon smells. And in Kentucky, it was all bourbon. There was no whiskey. It was all the bourbons. I don't like the way it smells, and I don't like the sweet taste as I would try to consume it. And I don't like the way it feels when it goes down. I totally understand that tequila also can burn as it goes down, but it hits my palate different. And I just prefer that. I don't go around necessarily smelling my tequila because some of it just is terrible, but I will have a glass, like a highball with the rocks, and I actually use frozen rocks. I don't use ice, and I will just sip on it for an hour or so and just be very calm and very happy while everybody else is doing whatever they want. I don't care.
As I'd say, I love that for you, that you found what works for you. It's because for what's 2026, for I don't know, 17 years, Rooster was like, Miller Lite, I don't want anything else. I drink Miller Lite, and then maybe one day I'll drink 12 Blue Moons, and then I'll go back to Miller Lite. And then bourbon and whiskey came into his life, and he is probably as soon as we're done here researching bourbon school.
I'll text you who to contact about bourbon school.
Yeah, no, okay. I friends, I had no plans to go down this rabbit hole. Pun intended. Rabbit hole is distiller. See what I did there? It's bad. It's bad. Like really front of mind stuff. But there's people out there. Look, we're not condoning the drinking of the spirits. That's not. I just want to make that clear. There are a lot of people who don't drink alcohol at all. Some people just drink Miller Lite. Like, do you? I get it. So I don't want to condone anything.
You just gotta go with the commercial. Drink responsibly.
Yes, I mean that's important. That's important. I've enjoyed just learning the history of it all, Joel. Frankly, I think I would do really well at bourbon school because I geek out on the history and I'm the guy that's like, hey, did you know it needs to be a new American oak barrel and 51%, and it has to I can keep going at least 4 years, and this idea of bottled and bond, and the government has a say, and yeah. Yeah, and this is all a new thing, by the way, a 2026 thing, and we're only in the third month. So anyway.
By the time I see you in September, I'm going to get a lot of history.
I actually thought about last year's Air Force Marathon and how I drove over there and had a chance to do all the things, and that this year I considered flying. Well, not now. I'm driving because there's a whole bunch of stops I'm making along the way.
You're going to take the very south route home, aren't you?
I got some hunting to do. Yeah, for sure. Okay, where y'all want to go from here? Somebody who's in charge of the bullet points for the Together We Shall podcast, episode 63. What do we want to talk about?
You want to talk about
I think
Space
we let our
Force?
guest pick.
Yeah, let's do it. Jill, you're in charge. You're the host. What are we
You
talking
wanna talk
about?
about Space Force?
Hey,
Because we have
I
Ainsley
do.
in Space Force too.
Yeah, Space Force. That's cool. So far we've talked a little bit about the Coast Guard Marathon coming up, the big Air Force Marathon weekend, third weekend of September. And now the Space Force. Now, for those that don't know, Space Force is one of our United States government branches of service. This is a fairly new thing. It's the newest. But they have a race also. And I would love you, Joe, to talk to us about Space Force, but also talk to our listeners about how those that have done things like the Army 10 miler and the Marine Corps Marathon and the Air Force Marathon, how that can lead to something bigger, some kind of challenge.
Absolutely. That's good stuff. So first we have the Space Force 10 miler, which is located at Cape Canaveral. It is currently always the second Saturday in December to honor Space Force's birthday. So this year will be the 5th running of Space Force, and Space Force itself is 6 years old. We do have Ainsley's come to Space Force. Stacia Grace comes everywhere. And if your listeners don't know Stacia Grace yet, Stacia always has Oreos, and there's always 3 different kinds in her chariot. And I always find her because I want to know what she has, because I want an Oreo before and after the race. And that goes for every single race she shows up for. But we do have Ainsley's. We do already have a plan on how we get the chariots and the riders to the start line, and then how we get the parents and the trucks back to the finish line, because it is a point-to-point race. It is not a looped race. So a lot of different logistics. The Cape Canaveral is very, very, very locked down. So things are just more challenging with the 10 miler, but with that race course, anybody who traverses the 10 miles gets to go past the Apollo launch pad, the Mercury 7 Memorial, the entrances to SpaceX and Blue Origin. And if they're really lucky, somebody has had a delayed launch like we had 2 years ago. So the New Glenn was still on the launch, and that's right by our finish line. And our finish line is at the historic lighthouse, and the awards ceremony is right inside at the Missile Museum. So it's a very, very fun. And if you've never seen the Snark missile, it's my favorite. It's a red shark. But that is part of the race course. I love it. It is flat. It also reminds you of Vegas, like your Vegas miles, because it looks like it's really close, but it's a really 3-mile stretch of the course. So you got to be mentally ready for that race. There's also some wildlife. There's alligators. We have signs everywhere for them. There's dolphins and sharks. We bring it all to Space Force. There's armadillos all over base. They hide. There's deer. It's fun. So that race is so much fun. It's in Florida in December. So we always encourage everybody to leave Ohio, where the weather is less than stellar, and come to Florida, where the weather is far more stellar and warm. And Space Force is notoriously warm. So
I know. I wish it was the second Saturday in April. That would be very convenient for me.
That's
I
Coast Guard.
I know, but I could run that race and then the next day get on a big boat and go on the cruise. But
Absolutely. So you have to drive right by the port to get onto the Cape. So you get to see all the ships come in, and then at 4 o'clock you see all the ships leave. It is so much fun. There's always a Disney cruise, so there's extra music and stuff as they leave port. But Port of Canaveral's right there too.
Yeah, and Joe's alluding to where he's going to be going soon. So, like, we're going to have a hiatus from the podcast because Joe's gone places. And my house is in disarray and needs to be rebuilt, but that's also the reason. But I digress. Back to Jill. Like, you said, armadillos in Florida.
Armadillos, they're everywhere, and I have to think of where it is on my desk. The mascot for the Space Force, like Sands Museum, is Rupert the armadillo. So I have the stuffed animal Rupert on my desk at all times to always remember, but they're literally everywhere. My former commander loved them and decided he wanted to have one as a pet. He did not catch one, but when he left this post to go to Scott, I had bought him a big stuffed armadillo and had the Chief Master Sergeant of the Space Force sign it for him so that he could always remember his wonderful memories of Space Force.
Florida's weird like that. You think like sharks and gators, and that's it. But yeah, like what's Louisiana, the wild outdoors, or what's Louisiana's motto?
Well, Louisiana's sportsman's paradise.
Sportsman's paradise. But there's not black bears, brown bears. There's bears in Florida. Like Florida's not
the Cape Canaveral is a nature preserve, so we're pretty sure there are some very large cats out there, but they don't come out during the race, thank goodness, or while
Yeah.
we're marking the course. But we know they're there. We just don't have to see them. So it's fun. We just maybe neglect to tell everybody about the cats. So
Except
as Rooster was
publicly on
alluding to,
podcast.
Yeah,
we
publicly on-
have
but don't worry, Joe. We have 61 listeners, not thousands. So not
whatever. It's
we-
all right.
that's not
Run
really
faster.
that's not really true. We have 62 listeners, but maybe 63.
Maybe.
No.
That's
We don't
good.
look at the metrics. We're just being silly. But you were going to say something. I alluded. What was Rooster alluding to?
The Armed Forces Series Challenge.
Yes,
So
yes.
the military races decided in the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, that we were going to create an Armed Forces Series Challenge because everybody talks about Marine Corps and everybody goes to Marine Corps or everybody goes to Army. Very rarely did they do both unless that they were letting Army be their last long run. And less people were coming to Air Force, and Coast Guard was just getting started. So we wanted a way to showcase all of the military events and get people to leave their comfort zone and go try something new. So we created the Armed Forces Series Challenge. And with the challenge, you run the events in person. You may not do any of the events virtual, and it has to be the marathon distance for Coast Guard, Air Force, and Marine Corps, and the 10-miler distance for Space Force and Army. With that being said, the Navy just added their new 10-mile event. They had it last month. It's in San Diego in Chula Vista. And then as of 2027, the Navy 10-miler will be the 6th and final event added to the series. Once you complete the series, and you have as long as you want to complete the series, you get a medal in the shape of the B2, and it has every branch in it. We are getting ready to honor our first participant who has gone through the entire series twice and is starting on his 3rd journey at Coast Guard. He is going to receive something extra, and all of the participants who complete journey number 1 and start on journey number 2 and so on will get, they're going to get a pen that goes on their ribbon. So original medal, and then the pen will, for every time you complete the series again, you're just going to get another pen to say, I've done this. There were supposed to be 2, but unfortunately, the second athlete had to be at Walter Reed during Air Force Marathon this year. So when he hits Air Force Marathon this year, he will have completed it twice. But
That's cool. God, there's so many things to say. Before I get confused here, make sure that I know who that is so that we can properly recognize the accomplishment at the finish line at Air Force. Because that's
I will.
Yes. And then the other piece is, what's up with runners having to go to Walter Reed and other hospitals? Yeah, dude, running is a awesome thing to do, but it can also cause you to have to get a little extra medical assistance. It's part of the journey.
So that particular athlete, and I can say it because he's an international athlete, is retired, I believe it's Senior Master Sergeant Kevin Bittenbender. He is a para athlete. So he tends to, you see him at the other races, he wins. He is very, very, very fast, but not only does he race in he has his own chariot, he races, but he was on the para and world teams for, I think skeleton. He did a couple of events this past year. He went to Worlds first, and then he was going to the Paralympics shortly thereafter. Kevin has an amazing wife named Molly, and a service dog is Kirby. And when you see Curbs, you get like all the kisses. So they are at every event. But Kevin, after several tours, he had to have one of his legs amputated. So he runs on blades when it's able. And then if it's a larger event, he uses his wheels, and he is a speed demon. He did Space Force last year and set a new record for himself of, I think it was 35 minutes. He finished the 10 miles. Like, he wastes no time. And I'm so sorry that my phone is ringing in my office. I tried to think of everything.
I can't even hear your phone ringing, but I've definitely heard
Perfect.
of Kevin. The last name, Bitten?
Bittenbender.
Bittenbender. I've definitely seen this somewhere.
He's at all the races. He won Marine Corps.
Yeah, definitely have seen that. Okay. No, awesome. Thank you for that introduction. Yeah, he won Marine Corps. Joe, if somebody has done the Air Force Marathon, the Coast Guard Marathon, the Space Force 10 miler, the Army 10 miler, and they just haven't had a chance to do the Marine Corps Marathon, how can they get involved in that?
They can go to the link in the description. They can go to ainsleyangels.org/run with the Marines, or probably the most easiest is to email joe@ainsleyangels.org.
Yes. And what if someone has successfully done the Marine Corps Marathon and the Space Force 10 miler and all the things, but they haven't done the Air Force Marathon, Jill? How can they get that opportunity to do it with Ainsley's Angels? You email Christy@ainsleyangels.org.
That's
But
right.
but what about all the people who need to do that as part of the challenge who may not want to do it with Ainsley's Angels?
They can go to usafmarathon.com and register.
Mm-hmm. And like if they're going to do that, they might as well just join the pink wave at the same time. Like I'm being really
Absolutely.
biased. Look,
Oh, I'll be biased with you.
yes, I just want the listener to know that they can do the Air Force Marathon with Ainsley's Angels in 2026 and still get the qualification they need to get the little challenge.
They
Yeah.
absolutely can. They can run with Ainsley's at Coast Guard. That registration, I believe, closes in 2 days because everybody has to get on the, they have to get on the IAL, which is the security list. Every runner has to be vetted. So that has to happen soon. So they can run with Ainsley's at Coast Guard. They can run with Ainsley's at Space Force, which is runspaceforce.com. That registration opens on May the 4th because we're that cheesy. And then they can run with Ainsley's at Army 10. And I think it's army10miler.com, but Maya's going to be mad because I don't have that one memorized. So
It is correct.
they can-
Army 10 miler.10 spelled out.
Yes. So they can do all of the events, and Navy is ready for wheeled athletes. They will make a minor change in their course because Kevin showed up to do Navy this year and they did not know they were having a wheeled athlete, so they had to make a minor adjustment. They are ready next February, so Ainsley's can get out to Navy 10 and do that one as well.
Wow, we got to talk to Trisha, man, because I'm curious about like
Yeah.
other things and scheduling but yeah, that could be, we got to figure that out. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
I mean,
No.
no offense to the Navy, as Marines were Department of the Navy, but like, I don't know, Chula Vista, like, I don't know, why would you not just run around Coronado or somehow
Because they couldn't
Annapolis?
get everybody logistically there. That one I know the answer to.
There's a little
These-
bridge.
There's a
little
bridge,
yeah.
but they
You can go
can't.
over the little bridge or just swim. Right? There's
There's
enough
already
good
a
swimmers out there
bridge
that could
event.
probably help.
There's already a bridge event. Is that what you
There's
said?
already a bridge event in May. They couldn't shut that down twice. There is an area, there's a brand new Gaylord in Chula Vista. So
Mhm.
the Gaylord was serving as the event site host, and they were able to use paths and close down just a few roads instead of multiple roads in order to host the inaugural event. Then they'll just make a slight adjustment to the course next year. So
Okay.
that's why Chula Vista and not Coronado.
That's fair, but that's probably a cool course because you can just say like, "Hey, if you see Welcome to Mexico, you went too far. Just
Exactly.
turn around." Right?
Mm.
Don't you are off the course.
You went to Tijuana. Congratulations. Come back.
I do have to know.
Wait, did I just say donkey show out loud? What happened? I
yes,
shouldn't
you
do that.
did.
Do not Google that. And if you do, use incognito mode. Go ahead, Joe.
I do have to know, like, again, the bias of being a Marine, a third generation Marine, just so you're aware, Jill, like when the Armed Forces series like came about, like how did the Air Force get, dare I say, the medal with the B2 when the Marine Corps Marathon's been around the longest out of all the races?
The marketing person at Marine Corps designed it.
Hmm.
So we collectively worked together.
It's a great
and
medal. I just was curious.
Bailey designed that one, and that was the medal that there was only 5 of us at the time, collectively chose to be the medal to represent, and inside the medal, every service branch emblem is in it.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
That's fair.
That's a fair question. But like at the end of the day, I think I would have to say, yeah, I approve this message. Like the B2. I mean, come on, dude. Like it's
I mean, it looks awesome. It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the medal's cool. Definitely. Yeah. That's neat. That's a cool thing. Yeah. So, and what I like is all the parallels and collaboration opportunities between Ainsley's Angels and each one of the service races and how far those journeys have come. So publicly saying once again to you, Jill, thank you for embracing us, for making us feel welcome, for giving us the opportunity to be included in your event without any special, arrangements, just a collaborative conversation about our requirements and finding a way to make it happen. Watching you and Christy work together to navigate through this has been really neat. And Christy, of course, is our North Central Indiana ambassador. But what you may not know, you know this. When you saw I Run for Kendall Jade is Christy's daughter.
I do know that.
Yes, and I was paired in I Run For with Kendall Jade on January 1st of 2016, which happened literally like 51, 52 days before Ainsley passed away. So just this amazingly beautiful timing as Kendall, Jade, and Christy and Eric and Donovan and Declan, the whole High family, in which I should say Ramsey and Misty, and I could keep going. But as they came into our lives, really, really cool. And then the parallel related to how when we first met and all those things. So this is cool. It's a long time coming to get you on the show, and I'm glad your schedule allowed you to.
I am too. Thank you.
Joe, I think we're at that point in the journey where we can start to wrap down, and I don't know what wrap down means, but maybe
It's
wind
like get
down.
down when you tell me to get down out of a vehicle.
Yes, I guess we can digress. What are you talking about? Get down.
And I feel like you had the Camry then still. Like you didn't, it was the truck. I don't know. We were somewhere and you were like, you getting down or get down? I was like, what are you talking about? You're like, get out of the vehicle. I'm like, did you get down because it's a truck or something? I was like, what? Why? Yes. Like, I've just never
Kinda
in
sounds like
30
Cajun
whatever
was
years had
coming
heard
through.
that before.
Wait, what'd Jill say? It sound like what?
Your Cajun was coming through.
Well, yeah, perhaps, but like, what do you say, Midwest? What do you say? We pull up at your favorite store and we're sitting in the car and it's time to go into the store, but I may not want to go and you don't know if I want to go. What would you say to me?
Let's go.
Okay.
You're not even given the option.
No. All right, let's go.
All
Let's
right.
go.
Well, I guess that's fair. Well, those listeners who know, they get it. Get down is a shout back to a long time ago, and you're in a little horse carrier, maybe you're on your horse, you're going to get down. I mean, you got to get down before you can go. Anyway.
Take your horse in the sleeper.
Yes. So, Joe, what do you want to say as we wrap out the episode? And then Jill, we'll let you have the final say for our listeners on this middle of March, not quite yellow pollen day.
Over that pollen. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Jill. Thanks for explaining not only the Air Force Marathon, but the series in general. I think that's will be a first heard for a lot of people. And each race provides a unique opportunity to see what that branch represents, and therefore, dare I say, the Armed Forces series is greater than the World Majors. But I'm going to go ahead and say it.
Oh yes, say it louder for the people in the back.
I know. I was like, when I was thinking about it, and I was like, God, all right, so 2 more marathons. So I have 2 more marathons in me, and then it was like, well, he was in Walter Reed, and I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need the B2.
But later
Solid.
we found out he was in Walter Reed because of a whole bunch of other things. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll just look at it from if someone ever gets it that I know, or print it and say I could have done that.
Yeah.
I'll introduce you to Kevin. He's hilarious.
Well, we hope you enjoyed it. We get to do this maybe once or twice a month, and so every time we do, I always leave the conversation feeling just like a little pep in my step there. So thank you for sharing space with us.
This was fun. Thank you.
What do you want to leave the listeners with?
That they need to run for somebody other than themselves. Change the narrative. Change how you train. Run for somebody else. It's the most amazing thing.
We're done. This was good.
Yeah, we're done here.
Find your people, and if they make you feel sexy, even better.